Corvettes have quite the good name in racing. ZR1 Corvette with a stock 1990 engine made history by setting 3 world records plus 7 FIA international records. There's so much to read. 2012 C6R Racing. I like these better. Corvette SR2 McLean. Cut down windshield. Looks like someone took a sawzall to the windshield. Chopped it right off. It's got a fake wood or a real wood flat steering wheel. It's got one rear view mirror. Halabrand, real genuine knockoffs, and pie crust tires that are Deluxe Champion Firestones. You'd think that a Chevy would have Goodyears, but no, it's got Firestones. It's got 2 T3 headlamps. Quite the beautiful paint job. I like that color. 1956 facts. Bob McLean, head of experimental styling, was responsible for the first Corvette 1959 Racing Stingray and many of the 50s and 60s specials as well as the Motorama cars. He bought the 56 Sebring team car, number 7, for personal use after Max Goldman campaigned the car at Cumberland, Elkhart Lake and the Haven Hill Climb. This car was also used by Chevrolet during the summer of 1956 for various tests such as intake manifold, block-off plates, that's the heat rise that runs across from the heads to heat up the underside of the carburetor. The McLean reconfigured the car as an SR2. The modifications included extending the SR2 nose, louvered hood, early SR2 seat, special dash with Stuart Warner, rally gauges, special trim on doors and door sills, special parking lamps, special headlamp rims, and 58 style tail lamps. Wow, it's quite the mouthful. Hope I captured your interest enough when I told you the whole story, but it's got genuine Halabrand racing knockoffs. If they're genuine Halabrands, they sure look like it. Kidney hole. There's a threaded knuckle. Threaded spindle. Hit that with a lead hammer and off comes the wheel. Held on by one nut. Much like the knockoff Corvair wire wheels. And Corvette wire wheels up until 66, 67 they got a center cap. They were bolted on. Uncle Ralphie just didn't like that. J56 special brake system. Available only with a 375 horsepower engine, 4-speed transmission, and Positraction. And I could have bought one of those back in 1981 or 2. It was a Z06 big tank car. Pretty sure it was. Anyways, I didn't buy it. Here's a Z06 63 split window. 327, 375 horsepower, Rochester fuel injected. Extra wide wheels, big tank. Body style 37, which was General Motors, 2-door sedan, fuel capacity 36.5, solid lifters, overall length, bore stroke, Rochester fuel injection, shipping weight 2859, heavy duty front and rear springs, shocks, heavy duty front stabilizer bar, power brake, dual master cylinder, which was with 4-wheel drums until 65 when the discs were standard and drums were possibly a no cost or a credit option. Brake drum cooling air scoops, fin drum brakes with sintered metallic linings and forward self-adjusting mechanisms. One of the first 6 built and taken to GM Tech, dismantled and reassembled by hand. 2 were delivered to Grady Davis, President and CEO of Gulf Oil, and 2 to Mickey Thompson, and he was brutally murdered. Read the story, by his business partner who was jealous. Murdered he and his wife in cold blood in front of their house. Read the story of Mickey Thompson. And 2 were delivered to Roger Penske. Wow. And Grady Davis owned this car till it was sold to the present owner who donated it or lent it to the museum. Wow, Z06, my kind of Corvette. I don't like the yellow ones. Somehow it just reminds me of a, what's that delivery company? DHL. I'm dizzy already just watching that video. I could never do that. Let's go over here and make some more trouble. 2012 ZR1, that's on Nürburgring. Lots of curves in that. I get seasick, so we'll just stick to the cars that are going a little slower. This looks like an Electrovette. Astrovette. Extended nose, roadster windshields, closed rear wheel openings, an extended tail. B-pillar air drag. Huh. It was an aerodynamic study to see how slippery the Corvette could be made. It sure was slippery. It's 1968. So it's got 4-way flashers, side guard door beams, no door enter buttons, no headrests. Just the beginning, or the end, of safety in cars, just like Uncle Ralphie wanted it. William L. Mitchell, born 1912, Cleveland, Ohio. Yeah, Bill Mitchell. Anybody that knows Corvettes knows his name. I won't tell you the whole story. You could find it elsewhere. Hydroformed rails. The Corvette rail started as a straight round tube measuring 6 inches in diameter and 16 feet long. 2mm steel and has a galvanized coating. 2 millimeters. Well, they've welded the end shut. 2mm sounds pretty thin, like 1/8 of an inch, I'm going to guess, if my metric conversion is somewhat accurate. Hydroformed rails. There they go. Hardly a kink, just a little bit of a kink. Hydroformed rails. That's how the Corvette is made. Here's one right here. Coil on cylinder, multi-port, fuel injected. Convertible mule, first spotted September 2011. Caught by spy photographers early on as specialized wheel well opening was not quite right. Yep. Grand Sport. Special mule car. Should I read this to you? Mules are when an automaker takes a current vehicle and puts in the powertrain, suspension, electronics, and other parts. Electronics? What's that? And other parts from the model being developed. This allows them to drive around and road test the car without the public realizing what it is. The body remains unchanged. It's what's underneath that is different. Previous mules have included station wagons, Camaros, and previous generation Corvettes. A mule allows GM to test specifics on the car, but does not accurately test suspension or handling. Test mule. Extra large wheel wells with kind of a lip fender flare that goes into the inside. Kind of a mud flappy thing that's reversed. It goes to the interior instead of the exterior. There's a styrofoam or a styling buck sitting on some plywood or some boards. Looks like a real car, but it ain't. It's just being put together, and that's how they learn how to make these cars. Looks like leather seats, but it's not. It's fiberglass or plastic seats. Pretty cool. The entire property is comprised of individual models, cubed together, aluminum plate, hydroformed aluminum frame. Interesting. Hydroformed rails. There they are. Getting pinched and twisted and molded. A straight steel tube into a bent tube into a pinched tube. The finished part is created when the holes are end trim are put into the part using a laser. Ends of tube are cut to the geometry. Blah 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 blah. There it is. That tube became a frame rail. That is pretty cool. Step around to the handle and try to lift the all aluminum frame from the Z06. So wait, this was galvanized steel. How did it become aluminum? Ooh. Got a stopper built in. Nice smooth 2x4. Clunk. Hydroformed backbone frame with a roll bar built in. Crumple zones, test and develop, validation. Too much information. Too much information. Larry Shinoda. He designed the Corvair dash in 1965 with the 3 pods or the how many is it? 6 pods on the Corsa and the Camaro in '67. Chief designer of 63 Corvette, President Shinoda Design Associates. I think he's still alive or died recently or still alive. But I read the story on him recently and it's quite amazing. 53 Corvette. Never seen these styling exercises. That looks like a canback 65 Corvair, but it's got a Corvette body. It's a 2-seater. It's rear engine. It's got louvers on the deck lid. Huh. That could have been the next generation Corvair right there. See that? I'm going to stop the video and get a picture of it. That could have been the next generation Corvair, introduced in '67 or '68. Never know. We can just dream and speculate. Could have had a turbo 350 automatic or a 5-speed. Wouldn't that be nice, huh?